The first thing we need to do when we're building our first mining model is to connect to our data source. Now I have done this up here, connected to my baseball database, and typically you want to build a view when you're building your data source view. So what I've done here is, now that I've connected, I can actually come in here and add or remove tables, just like you would in any other normal analysis services project. And I've already added the batting statistics table that I've created here. So once we've got the data source view ready, we can go ahead and let's actually just delete this and recreate it. We'll go ahead and create our first mining structure. You know what, before I do that, I actually forgot. I wanted to show you guys one quick resource that's available for seeing all the different things that Microsoft SQL Server's data mining has to offer. Let me bring it up here. It's SQL Server datamining.com. And they have all kinds of information on here. And probably the coolest thing that they have on this website is their live samples. So you can go in and without having to develop and kind of struggle your way through the first couple of attempts at doing data mining, you can come in here and just view what they have here. So for example, when I was talking about clustering, this is a great example of what clustering, oh, no, I'm sorry, that's not the one I wanted. What I wanted was data validation is the one. So what this does is it'll actually, based on input, so if you're running a call center and you have people trying to apply for a loan or insurance policy or something along those lines, you can input their data here. So let's say our phantom customer is a female, 45 years old, has 16 years of education, which means they've graduated from college, and we'll say that they're an administrator or a manager, and their relations to head of household is, we'll call them female head of household. And we submit that, and great, no problem, that customer is automatically approved. You don't have to worry about anything there. There's no fraud possibly going on there. It's a typical customer for that. But let's say instead of having being a manager, they're a craftsman and they're the daughter of the head of household. We're going to get an error here, and it shows us there's a suspicious data entry due to the occupation field. Typically somebody who has 16 years of education wouldn't necessarily be a craftsman, so we would send that off either to a separate table to be reviewed by our underwriting or fraud detection staff, something along those lines. Another great one that I find very, very useful, and let's go back here, is the movie click version. This is an association rules example for data mining. So let's say I want to pick a movie that I want to buy. The Matrix, I love that movie. I saw that movie more times than I'd like to admit in the movie theater when it came out. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that. And now up here, I don't know if you guys can see that real well, it's actually selected a bunch of movies that other people who have bought that movie have bought, and so they go ahead and recommend that to me. So So we can view that query right here. And this is what a DMX query looks like. It's very similar to T-SQL, so it's not too difficult to learn to write those queries. Definitely not nearly as difficult as learning MDX inside of analysis services is. And you can see as we add additional movies to our cart, our recommendations continue to change. And we can do this over and over again. And that's really a great example of how association rules work. I like this item. X number of people have also liked that item, so they recommend it to me. All right. So let's go back here now that we've actually got our data source view with our table that we're going to build our mining on. We'll go ahead and create a new mining model. And we're going to select from a relational database or data warehouse. You can also do it from a cube, but for us, we're going to use a table. And here we're going to select which type of mining structure we want to use. Again, for us, we're going to use the Microsoft time series. And we select the data source view. And now if we had multiple views inside of our data source view, we'd be able to select which table we wanted to use. But since we only have one, it's already selected for us. Okay, now here we are with a list of all the fields inside that column. And here we have whether that column is going to be a key, an input, or a column we're trying to predict. So to start, we're going to just try and predict batting average. So let's go ahead and check that. Now for time series, it's a little different than some of the others. You actually will need two keys for the time series. Your general business key for us is going to be a player ID, but you'll also need a time key. So we'll select those here and here. And now if you see before we do that, if we haven't selected a key, we actually get an error down here saying the mining model does not have a key column. So we need to make sure that we always choose that. It won't let you actually do that before going on. So again, we'll choose our key. I believe that's this one. Yeah, there we go. Let's actually bring those a little closer together so it's easier to see. All right, and now we're going to try and determine what would be a good predictor of a batting average. What's great here is they actually have a suggest button where they'll actually do some light algorithmic calculations and come up with suggested columns that would affect what their batting average will be.